Oops. Hey, good morning, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. I just need a quick drink of my coffee. So you can see that the cat mask is not real. Anyway, today is day 13 of my new adventure. And once a week, usually on Saturdays, I like to think about the past week. Sundays I like to plan and sort of map out what I want to do for the week. And then on Saturdays at the end of the week, and that's how I define it for myself. You can do it any way you want, but that's how I've been defining it. I like to think about the lessons learned. What went well this week? What did I get off track on? And what do I need to do to correct it? And what can I do better next week? And it's still only Saturday, so are there some things I can catch up on and fix that I didn't quite get to during the week? So I did a quick little lessons learned thing, and then I came up with a strategy, and I call it the ICU secret method. And it's just my method that I came up with this morning because I know that I need to address some of these things. So this week, a lot of things went well. A lot of things got me sidetracked. And I think I'm seeing a pattern that I'm very easily distracted by things that aren't moving me toward my goal and toward what I'm trying to achieve and what my objective is for the week. And not only just the week, but, well, mostly the week, but the week. And then if I'm getting off track during the week, that means I'm not moving as quickly as I can be toward my end objective, my end goal. And so I need to get better at filtering everything that I'm doing through the question, is this moving me toward my goal? Yes, then go ahead and do it. If it isn't, if it's just a fun, shiny object, interesting thing that's piqued my attention, because that's what the internet's all about, is getting our attention. If it's getting my attention, I need to stop and ask myself, does this fit with what I'm doing? Does this help me in some way to move me toward my goal faster and easier? If it does, great, go ahead and get distracted and use it. For example, I learned about messenger bots last week, and it was kind of a big distraction. Super interesting, a big distraction, but I can justify it slightly in my mind of following that shiny object and being distracted, because I know that I can use that to help me with my overall objective and on the projects that I'm working on. So it's okay sometimes if I get distracted, but I can't get distracted all the time, or I won't make it to my end destination. So I came up with this little strategy that can help me in a whole bunch of areas, and it might be able to help you too, which is why I want to share it. I can use it to get rid of my monkey mind. You know, I don't know about you, but I have one of those brains that's going 100 miles an hour all the time, and I'm always thinking about other projects and other things I want to do, and ways I want to have an impact on something, or how something could be better, easier, faster, more efficient, could help more people. My brain just is wired and works that way, and it works, you know, a million miles an hour. Probably 100 miles an hour isn't fast enough. It's going all the time. And most of our minds are, but a lot of people are better at controlling their minds than I am. So I can use this strategy to help settle down my monkey mind. I can use it to, if I have trouble sleeping, I don't know if you've ever gone to bed and had a whole bunch of things on your mind, and they just keep running through your head and running through your head or running through your head, and you just can't get to sleep because you're afraid you're going to forget something. My trick for handling that is I always keep a pad or a paper and a pencil by my bed, and then if I think of something, or if I can't get to sleep, I stop. I sit up. I either use my phone light or I turn on the light, and I write down everything that's on my mind and everything that's bothering me. And for some reason, just writing it down and getting it out of my head, I then know I'm not going to forget it, and I'll be able to sleep. But on top of that, writing it down, I can use this ICU strategy too. I can use it to reduce stress. I don't know if any of you are under any stress, but I have had some points in my life that were extremely stressful, like knock me over dead and kill me stressful. And so to me, stress management and finding ways to handle stress it's imperative. And so I can use this ICU method to reduce my stress. I can use it to focus. And I definitely have an ADHD brain and way of looking at the world. And so along with that, I need to find ways to focus and focus my attention. I can use it to get back on track when I get sidetracked, when I get distracted by messenger bots, when I'm watching a a marketing summit that's super interesting and fantastic information, but it's really nothing I'm doing right now. For example, I watched 3-hour-long or more sessions about Instagram. I'm not really doing anything on Instagram. I'm curious about it. It's interesting. People are doing a lot of stuff on it, but it's a huge distraction for me. So do I want to be distracted and spend my time and energy figuring out and learning about Instagram, which when you're my age, it's not intuitive. I mean, Snapchat to me is a total mystery because there's no instructions on how to use it. I mean, Instagram isn't much better, but it's at least a little bit more figure outable once my kids told me how to do it. But I still haven't figured out the whole Snapchat thing. And I may never do it because I'm not sure that learning about those platforms is going to move me toward my end objective and my goals and the things that I want to accomplish and experience here on the planet. If it does, maybe I'll learn about them. If it doesn't, and when the time comes that I need to learn about them, it becomes beneficial to my projects on the planet, then I'll learn about them. But for right now, nah, I need to stop and focus and not get distracted by those things. I can use it to combat negative thinking, or you can, and when I say I also mean anybody can use this ICU strategy to do all of these things as well. Negative thinking. I don't know about you, but we are inundated and surrounded with negative thinking all the freaking time. Not just a little bit, all the time. And the scary thing is the majority of the negatives come from right inside my own head and probably your own head too. And so how do you stop and combat that negative thinking? This ICU method will do that. How do you conquer fear? And part of what got me thinking about this morning is I had the monkey mind going, and it was going around and around and around with things I'm afraid of. I mean, it's hard to admit that we're afraid of things, but obviously, maybe not at a conscious level, I don't think I'm afraid, but subconsciously, I am totally batshit crazy scared of doing some of the things that I know I need to do to move forward with my goals and objectives and to achieve what I want to achieve in moving my businesses from the offline world to the online world. Some of it's really, really scary for somebody like me and somebody my age. I've been going and calling myself the pajama grandma lately because that's really who I am. I'm sitting here in my pajamas and in a cat mask making this video because I'm scared to make videos. Let's be honest, guys. I have to get psyched up, drink my bulletproof coffee, and come up with all kinds of strategies like cat masks to make myself do Facebook Live videos. It's not my natural state to be talking to people. I'm actually, in my own mind, a much better writer than I am speaker or talker. And so I would much rather hide behind my blog and just write things and then put them out and have no one ever see them than to get on Facebook Live. But I know that in order to achieve what I want to achieve and help the people that I want to help, I need to get out of my comfort zone. I need to get off my butt and I need to get in front of people. And that's never going to happen with my blog. I've had a blog for like 10 years and I've got maybe 30 followers on it or 30 people that ever see my blog. Well, I want to have a slightly larger influence on the world than 30 people that probably don't even look at my blog that often. They just happen to see it if I send out a post. So that's what got me to thinking, and that's why I came up with this ICU method, is I was actually experiencing fear, and I wasn't sure where it was coming from. And as I thought about it and analyzed it, it's all coming from my past. And I know on a conscious level that it just doesn't matter. What happened in my past doesn't matter at all. There's nothing I can do about it. I can learn from it, but there's nothing I can do to change from it. So why would I let experiences from the past that were fearful, that I obviously lived through because I'm here talking to you, why would I let them impact my today, much less my future? So that is the real reason that I came up with this ICU thing today, was because I was experiencing fear. And I'm like, I'm not going to experience fear from the past. I need to figure this out. And then the other thing you can do, again, is, of course, help you let go of the past and feelings of the past that are obviously still impacting you. How many of us aren't impacted in our current relationships because we've had bad relationships in the past? I would say dang near everybody, dang near every one of us. I mean, all right, let's be honest. Why am I single? And why am I not in a relationship? It all stems from fear of my past failed marriage. And I'm over it, but I'm obviously not over it all at a subconscious level, or I'd probably be in a relationship, right? So obviously there's some more fear to work on there. So what is this crazy ICU method? So I talked a little bit about the lessons I learned this week, and all of it kind of culminated together in me saying, I need a personal strategy and a personal technique that I can call on instantly to get me back on track, to get me focused, to get me not thinking about the negative, to get me to let go of the past, to get me to do everything I need to do and want to do to move me toward my goals instantly. It can't take me weeks and months and years to do these things or to get over these things. Well, it can. I mean, therapists make their living by having, their same clients for 20 years. I have a cousin-in-law who has been going to the same therapist for 20 years. Now, I personally find that unconscionable. If a therapist cannot help you in 20 years, then they should not be your therapist, because this particular person does not have and has never experienced any huge traumas or things in their past that would ever require the need of 20 years of therapy. I think 20 years of therapy is maybe somebody with multiple personalities or schizophrenic or somebody who's actually in a facility because they need to be in a facility. That's the only person I can think of that would need 20 years of therapy. I mean, I'm sure my cousin-in-law paid for this doctor's house in just her therapy sessions alone. So that's a sidetrack. I'm sorry, I got a little off, but sometimes things like that, we think of them and it's an example of, she's a great lady, but I'm sure she got involved in this situation thinking it would help, and then you just get into the routine and the rut of doing the same thing over and over and over again. I mean, I can't imagine doing anything for 20 years. I guess I probably do some things and have done some things for 20 years, but for the most part, not. So the reason I came up with this is I've shared with you, but the reason I call it ICU is because that's the name that popped into my head. Now, you can name your strategy anything you want. And the first step of it is to come up with a word, a pattern interrupt word. And I learned about pattern interrupts from Tony Robbins decades ago. And, sometimes we use strategies that we know, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we practice them and they become a habit for us. Other times we forget about them for decades, and then all of a sudden when we need them, we're like, oh, I know about that. I can do this. A long time ago when I was younger and I would get angry and frustrated about things, say, for example, at my business, I would do a pattern interrupt. If I would catch myself feeling negative, I would say cancel or stop. And just saying the word cancel or stop, and I didn't say it out loud, I said it in my head, but saying that word served as a pattern interrupt for me. So whatever I was thinking about that was negative or wasn't working for me, it would immediately stop me, and that would give me the milliseconds of time to think about and ask myself the question, is the way I'm thinking and feeling the way I want to feel throughout my day? And how is it impacting what's going on around me and how I'm experiencing what's going on around me? So I like to pick a trigger word. And the trigger word for me today was ICU. And then it ended up being, okay, well, that's what I'm going to create a method for me called ICU. And personally, excuse me, I call it ICU, and that was the name I picked because that's a good interrupt word for me. And it actually takes me to the next step in the process after I come up with a pattern interrupt word or name, to the next step of the process where I want to see or visualize what I really want to be focusing on or where I want to be. And for me, IC is my invisible committee. And when I say ICU, it means I want to instantly go to the place where I am meeting with, in my mind, my invisible council committee. I have a place in my mind that I visualize where we go and where we meet. So if I'm running into a problem, or if I'm getting off track, or if I'm catching myself doing negative thinking, I want to be able to say in my head, I see you, and I just think it, I don't say it, I think I see you, and then that stops what I'm doing immediately, gives me that millisecond of time to think about, okay, is what I'm doing right now, is what I'm thinking right now, is that what I need to think? And what it does is it takes me to that place that I can focus and I feel supported, and I have guides and knowledge and wisdom way beyond my own that can help me with this particular situation. And so I have a trigger word. Let me give you a cancel. I gave a cancel example. I'll share this too. I used to also use I used cancel for work situations in business to get me back on track. And about the same period of time, I was having issues and struggles with my relationship with my ex-husband. And so I would use the word stop in my head when I would catch myself being manipulated into a place I didn't want to go, or controlled, or if I found myself reacting negatively or wanting to fight with my ex-husband, I would just in my head say stop, and that would give me that millisecond of time to try to switch my emotions and my thinking and actually ask myself, okay, what do I need to do to stop this from becoming a full-blown argument? What do I need to be doing or saying or thinking to make this go in the direction that I really want it to go, not in the direction that I don't want to go? Obviously, I was not 100% successful in that endeavor because I am divorced, but it did help me to control myself better and to fight less and to emotionally handle the whole relationship situation way better than I would have if I hadn't had this strategy. So step one, pick a word that can be your trigger word. It's probably better if it isn't a word that you use every day. Like, for example, if you use a certain word all the time in your normal daily activity, you want it to be a different word than that. Otherwise, it doesn't work particularly well because you're exposed to that word all the time. To me, the word cancel, I almost never use the word cancel in my daily activities in my business. So cancel was a good word for me at that time. The word stop, although we do hear the word stop and we experience stop signs and stoplights and things a lot in our life, the word stop worked really well for me because I know I needed to stop what I was doing and thinking and change it if I was going to change the situation. ICU works really well for me in this situation because when I say in my head ICU, it means I want to go somewhere where I can think and focus and get back on track with a group of people that are wiser than me that can help me to be confident in the direction that I'm going. So then the second step in it is visualize or stop and ask yourself that question. Is this moving me toward what I would do? Is this true? Is this true for me? Because that's a really good one when you're thinking about fear about the past. So often we have a situation or an experience in the past and it happens in like a millisecond. Say you're in a car accident or something. And then you have a year or two of recovery after that accident, and it's 30 years later, and you're still reliving the trauma and that accident, the pain and the suffering that you had after that accident, and it's still negatively impacting you 20 years later. Even though your body is 100% healed, whenever anything scary happens, or whenever you're driving or something, for example, you might feel that fear and bring back those memories of that experience. Now, something that happened maybe over a short period of time has now impacted you and me. I'm guilty of this for decades. And so this is a great strategy for that, because when I catch myself thinking, I'm trying to think of a good example. If I catch myself thinking, I can't do this, or I don't know what to do, or something like that, or this is too much, I can't handle it, this hurts too bad, this is too painful, I will immediately stop. I'll use either stop, cancel, or now maybe ICU, and I will ask myself, is this really true for me right now today? Well, probably the answer is no. When I actually stop and ask that question, the answer is almost invariably no, because I am not in the same exact experience that my mind is trying to convince me, or my subconscious is trying to convince me that I'm experiencing again from the past right now. And I should have an example of that, but I don't at the top of my head. But so often we are feeling something or experiencing something, and the emotion or the fear isn't even our own. It's something that we've picked up from society, or it's something that we've picked up from someone else in our family. I do have an example. I have had pain, chronic pain, the majority of my life. And most people that know me don't know anything about that. They don't even know that I experience chronic pain. Of course, my close family does, but the rest of the world pretty much doesn't know that about me. And that's for a lot of reasons. In my early 20s, I was debilitated by chronic pain. I mean, in bed for like a couple of years, the majority of the time, and couldn't function. And I was really dependent on my parents and on other people to help me just to survive. And that sucked. That beyond sucked. That was the worst feeling of my entire life. So I could still be bedridden. I by the doctor's estimations, I probably should be bedridden or dead at this point in my life. But I said no. I said, no, this is not going to be my life. I'm not going to live this way. And whenever I'm struggling with pains, particular pains or health issues or challenges, I take a totally different approach. I don't think, oh, this is awful. I can't handle it. What am I going to do? This is going to go on forever. I take the approach of, I got this. I'm going to figure it out. I don't know the answer when it first happens. I had a really bad flare this last May. And so for May, June, I was screwed. I could barely get out of bed and couldn't make it to the bathroom. So I could have laid in bed and had people get me to the doctor and taken a bunch of drugs and been out of it and miserable. But instead, I, like a mad woman, got online, started researching, trying to figure out what was going on, what might have triggered this particularly super bad flare, and what I was going to do about it. And I found some answers. I found some things that worked for me, which are irrelevant to the story. But within 30 days, I was up and about, and I wasn't 100%. I'm still not 100%, but I'm 98%, and I'm rocking and rolling and moving on new adventures and new things. And so that would be an example of I needed to stop and ask myself, do I believe and feel those things, or are they just trauma from the past experience? And I'm not going to go there anymore. I never go there anymore. It's like, nope, I'm going to figure this out. And that's what I do, because I know and I'm certain, I'm 100% certain I will always figure everything out. I mean, I always do. And so I just have to remind myself sometimes by having this trigger strategy that, hey, yeah, you're feeling overwhelmed right now, but you'll figure it out. You always figure it out. You take it one step at a time and you figure it out. So the second step is visualize what you want the outcome to be. So trigger word, visualize what you want the outcome to be. And then the third thing that really adds power to this strategy is if you create an anchor, a physical anchor on your body that ties in with the word. Now for me, with cancel, I just tapped my finger, my index finger to my thumb. I just tapped that and said cancel, cancel. And that worked for me because it had to be at work, in my work environment, and in my businesses. It had to be subtle so that it would remind me, but nobody else around me would know what was going on. Especially, like in corporate America and in business meetings, I used to use this strategy. And if I was really frustrated and I wanted to say something that was on my mind but probably wasn't appropriate for the situation, I would use that little strategy, and I would just tap my fingers together, and that would remind me to say cancel. Okay, is doing or saying that going to really get you the outcome that you want from this meeting? And if not, then I would be quiet. If it was, and if it was important enough that yes, I did need to say it, I was always the person that would say it. And that's because I think that you have to live congruently with who you are all the time in any situation. And so maybe that's part of why I'm not in corporate America anymore, but that was my choice too. So the third part of this process is the trigger. How am I going to trigger this? So for me, ICU, I could, and I haven't really decided on a trigger yet today. I was thinking I could tap my heart, I could tap my head, just once tap my head, tap my heart, I could tap my eyelid, I could blink my eye or something, but I want it to be more subtle than that. I pretty much trigger pointed all my fingers, so I don't want to use my fingers. So I might have to come up with something a little more creative. I'm thinking just a tap on my head, ICU. That would be enough to help get me into the whole process. And the whole process is instantaneous. I say ICU. Well, I don't even say it. I think, and it could be just like that. It could be just, maybe it's duh, Sharon, because that gets me instantly interrupted, subconscious and conscious level. And actually, it's the conscious level that I need to interrupt. Then it immediately takes me to the place where I'm visualizing the outcome that I want, or I'm stopping myself and I'm asking myself the question, whoa, why am I feeling this way? Is this moving me toward what I want to go? Does this feeling even belong to me? Do I want to stay here? And maybe sometimes we just need to feel like crap. Sometimes we just need to let ourselves feel angry. Sometimes we need to not beat ourselves up, and we just need to let those feelings wash through us. I have a confession to make. I am one of those people that says no to everything, and I'm also one of those people that explodes. I don't explode a lot, but I used to when I was younger. I would explode, or I'd get upset about something, and within 10 minutes, it would be like it never happened, because I have the ability to let it just kind of all wash through me. So I'm angry or upset about something, and then I just let it wash through me, and I let it go, because I realize that it isn't anywhere that I want to live. I do the same thing with almost all my negative emotions now, and it's taken practice, don't get me wrong, but I just don't get upset by or angry over or worried or frustrated about a whole lot of things that I used to. Even a year ago, things that would just tip me over for days just don't bother me anymore, because I realize that they're not that important. So you can anchor it any way that you want. People create all kinds of weird anchors. You might touch your ear, or again, just like the word, you want to be something that means something to you, that will immediately stop you in your tracks, but it's going to be different for everyone. And the same thing with the anchor. It's going to be something for you, and you want it to be something that you're not doing all the time. If you're always tapping your head because you think you're doing something dumb, that's not going to work as your trigger point, because you'll be triggering at the wrong opportunity. And so the point is to make it a unique experience and a unique method and a unique strategy that works just for you. So that's my big lessons learned Saturday, day 13 of my new adventure and what's she up to now strategy. Obviously, she's up to cat costumes and cat pajamas, and that's okay. But I'm really excited to try this strategy out over the next week and see if it doesn't keep me focused and keep me on track and keep me out of negativity, out of doubts, out of fear. Because whenever you're trying any new endeavor, you're bound to get moments of doubts, fear, and anxiety. And so I want to make sure that I minimize those for me. So I'll be tapping my head, ICU, ICU, ICU. That's my strategy. And so make it your own. And I will, of course, see you tomorrow. Have an awesome day.